Hey, what's up, everybody? Hopefully, you're all doing well out there. A couple things I wanted to talk about was first and foremost, Donald Trump nuked the WHO, like in Trumpian fashion, like only he can do. Second thing was the city of Wuhan actually lifted their lockdown today. And also, the US actually saw their highest number of deaths in one day. That was April 7th on Tuesday. They did say that this week was going to be our Pearl Harbor moment or 9/11 moment, one or the other, in terms of like this week being the week that we were really going to get hit really hard in the United States. But let's take a look at this Daily Mail article and talk about Trump and then talk about Wuhan. Donald Trump launches full frontal attack on China-centric World Health Organization, saying they called it wrong, they should have known on coronavirus, and says he might freeze funds. President Trump went after the WHO in a tweet Tuesday, calling the United Nations health body China-centric. Trump said WHO really blew it on its coronavirus response, suggesting he'd look into slashing its funding. President Trump was following the lead of other conservatives who blamed WHO for helping China in cover-up. Criticism of WHO comes as Democrats have condemned the Trump administration's response to the disease. Later today at the daily White House briefing, Trump ripped the WHO apart again, as he said he'd look at funding. And then it also mentions here the COVID death totals. Let's take a look at some of this real quick and see what Trump had to say. So we pick it up here. He says the WHO, that's the World Health Organization, receives vast amounts of money from the United States, and we pay for a majority, the biggest portion of their money, and they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. Trump said near the top of the briefing, and they were wrong. They have been wrong about a lot of things. And they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to. They seem to be very China-centric, he said, changing the point he was trying to make mid-sentence, something he also does quite often as well. It comes as the people of Wuhan were allowed to emerge from their homes on Tuesday for the first time since January 23rd, and they said that was an 11-week lockdown period, 70 days, something like that, in excess of 70 days. And while the world had looked on at those measures with consternation, as the WHO reassured us the virus was a regional problem, most developed countries have now adopted the same stringent stay-at-home rules. There's the WHO director, Tedros Adhanom. Later in the briefing, Trump threatened to cut off the WHO's supply of money from the United States. We are going to put a hold on the money spent to the WHO. We are going to put a very powerful hold on it, very powerful. And we're going to see, Trump said. It's a great thing when it works. But when they call every shot wrong, that's not good. They are always on the side of China, he also complained. Later, when the president was asked if it was a smart move to cut off funds to the major global health organization during a global pandemic, he backed away from the definitiveness of his previous threat. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but I'm going to look at it, Trump pledged. So again, that's Trump, man. That's what he does, right? All of you here in the US and probably around the world are aware of how he does it. Big claims, walking it back. Some of the stuff he'll go ahead and do, some of the stuff he'll do it in a different way. Some of the stuff it's just used as a means to kind of threaten action from whatever organization or company that he's trying to target, right? Trying to ratchet up the pressure on them to act on their own and kind of rectify whatever situation he sees as a wrong. So again, typical Trump tactic. We've seen it over and over again. So we'll see how it works here. A lot of times it's effective, like what happened with getting companies to step up their production of masks and stuff like that. And I'm sure you guys out there watching the video can point out numerous examples of the time he's kind of, what do I say, boisterous, blusterous kind of rhetoric to try to get individuals to act on their own without him actually having to take the action and tighten the screws and what have you. So let's take a look at the tweet. Let's see what he says here. The WHO really blew it. For some reason, funded largely by the United States, yet very China-centric, we will be giving that a good look. Fortunately, I rejected their advice on keeping our borders open to China early on. Why did they give us such a faulty recommendation? And he's accurate on that. The WHO even criticized in early February his decision to cut off travel from China in late January. Now here it's a tweet from the World Health Organization. This was January 14th. You'll see when I scroll down, but it says, preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus. Shh. That goes against the intelligence that's come out lately that says China was well aware of this by this time that there was human-to-human transmission. So I think a lot of people are getting wise to the fact that the WHO definitely is in the pocket of China, and that China knew early on and decided to withhold that information from the global community. For whatever reason, I don't know what the WHO was hoping for. I don't know what kind of pressure they could have been facing from China in terms of why they decided to go against the whole ethics of it all and do what they did. But like I said, we can draw, it's up to each individual to draw their own conclusion as to why that is. Here you see a chart of the number of deaths per day in the US. Sorry, some of this is cut off. It's too large to fit on my screen, but what you see here, this is recent. This is all April data here. So you see us shooting up 1,000, almost 1,500, 1,300 yesterday, 1,800 on Tuesday. So record high. When we scroll down a little bit, you can see kind of lower on the chart here how things kind of escalated up to what we had today. Here you see what's going on around the US. 12,876 deaths and approaching 400,000 cases. So if you take a look here, break down state by state, Michigan, New Jersey, Florida, Louisiana, Illinois, California, all with an excess of 12,000 cases in the 12 to 20,000 case range. Obviously nowhere near what New York is, as they're nearing 140,000 cases, but you also can take a look at New Jersey with 41,000 cases. So obviously that makes sense given the geography of New Jersey to New York. Here's the escalation of cases here in the United States up to the current point. So you can take a look at that real quick. Senator Martha McSally, an Arizona Republican, says they need to come clean. And another piece of this is the WHO has to stop covering for them, she said of China. I think Dr. Tedros needs to step down, McSally said on Fox Business Network. We need to take some actions to address this issue. It's just irresponsible. It's unconscionable what they have done here while we have people dying across the globe, McSally added. Rick Scott, Florida senator, said the Senate Homeland Security Committee needed to launch an investigation into WHO's handling of the virus. In late January, Tedros complimented China's President Xi Jinping for the handling of the virus as the Chinese leader centralized the response after local officials in Wuhan couldn't keep the outbreak under control. All right, so here you go. Here's some photos from Wuhan. Like we said, they lifted their citywide quarantine today here. And another source I was reading was saying they went straight to the train stations, straight for the airports. So you can see here, after 70 plus days, they're definitely happy to be getting out. Here you see another photo, thermal scanning. Looks like this may be the airport there. This says here, a woman wearing protective gear waits to board one of the trains to leave Wuhan. So she actually went to the trains, but she's not playing. She said, forget that, I'm still wearing my protective gear on that train. Here you see another image, people wearing protective clothing and masks as they're arriving at a railway station. It looks like, if you take a look around at the photo, it looks like most people are wearing masks, but only a few individuals are actually wearing this protective gear. I'll leave this part of the article up here if you want to also read that. Now, I'm with Trump regarding the WHO. Granted, it's a sticky situation given the times that we're in right now. We're kind of still in the middle of this. We haven't even seen the curve flattening, and this is supposedly going to be our worst week yet. Maybe this week will be. We'll see what happens there, but it's definitely a situation where you have to ask yourself, is now the best time? Is this the time to go ahead and try to wage that battle when you're trying to wage the battle on your own soil to try to keep Americans safe? So there's that question, and I totally get it. The feeling I have is it's kind of the way Trump's mind works. Other people may see a situation and say, hey, this is the thing that's going on right now. That being obviously the outbreak, the number of cases and deaths, the issues with getting supplies to states and everything like that. And certainly I get that, but my feeling is you can wage the battles on multiple fronts. And that's what delegation is for. That's what you have these individuals in place for. That's why you have people in place to take care of these other aspects, right? Trump's obviously focused on the bigger picture. You have individuals within his cabinet, the governors, the mayors, etc. Those individuals are out there focused on the details within their own respective states and cities and whatnot. So while I get what people are saying in terms of like, hey, let's focus on this and we'll deal with the WHO afterwards, again, I would say just keep in mind that Trump's focus is the bigger picture. Given that, I don't think that there's a huge issue with him taking a few minutes out here and there to send out a couple tweets, blasting whoever he's going to blast, and of course praising who needs to be praised as well. So we've got to make sure to keep that in perspective. When we get to a situation here in the United States where we finally get out, I know people are going to feel like they've been cooped up for so long. They're going to want to go ahead and let loose right away, perhaps. Some people will, some people won't. I would think that you would probably just want to have a situation where you ease into it. So if you're China and you're wise about certain things, which I don't doubt they are, now that you've gone ahead and said, okay, Wuhan, we're now going to go ahead and lift your quarantine, do you really want to have a situation where they're going to go ahead and be allowed to take the trains everywhere, take flights everywhere? And that's not saying that's the case. I'm sure there's some kind of limits on the train system, how much exactly they're running. But what I was thinking about was their flights, for instance. So if you're China as a country, I'm sure you don't want your citizens flying to countries that would allow China to come in. Now, obviously, we know that they can't fly into certain countries or fly out of certain countries, but even when things start to get to a point where it looks like, say it looks like we're flattening the curve here or in Europe and they start to lift restrictions, if you're sitting out there and you're China and you really are legitimately in a situation where you're not really having any cases or deaths, why would you want your citizens to travel to those countries? And that's the same for anybody, right? If we're in the United States and say we get a hold on things quicker than they do in Europe, do you really want to go ahead and open everything up quickly in terms of flights to Europe or any other areas that still haven't gotten this thing contained, or at least kind of starting to see the slope kind of go down a little bit in terms of flattening the curve? So again, just something that I was thinking about, and something that no doubt the leadership in all these countries are thinking about, is how soon is too soon, or how much is enough? How much risk are we willing to take that we're going to go ahead and allow our individuals back out into the population, and when they return home, they can possibly bring it back from some country that may still see some cases, right? Obviously, they're not going to let individuals fly to countries that are still hot zones, but the risk of reinfections or bringing something back into any country would still be great, right? If full travel is allowed, whenever we get to that point. But those are just some thoughts I had, so I wanted to share that with everybody. But thanks as always for watching. Love to hear what you think. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good day.